Charles, our custodian, he's looking to start a men's group. More information on that's going to be forthcoming of when the group is going to meet. So there is that. The flowers on the altar today are sponsored in the 29th wedding anniversary, which they are celebrating today by Ron and Joanne Howard. And today's bulletin is sponsored in memory of Brenda Hyatt and Lee Roby by Steve and Carol Hyatt. Here is one of the things I'm going to get in trouble for doing, but this month is Betty Bartell's 39th birthday again. And she has been 39 enough times that it would be a good time for us to sing happy birthday.
Anybody who wants to give us a grant can cement their decision to help us out. Let us gather together and settle ourselves and prepare ourselves to worship with our morning prayer.
creation. God's open hands are as the gate of righteousness. In God's hands are new life, strength, and salvation. Let us rise and sing our opening hymn, The Day of Resurrection, number 228.
And join me, and those that go ahead hearts remain seated. Good morning. What do we have there? That's toothless. The dragon? Yeah, so no lambs today, we have dragons. We have any more? Here. Well, good morning. And Pastor John said it right. I do not know how I'm going to follow a baby lamb. And I'm going to try that.
You won't be bad.
No. So, I have with me my bag of wonders, right? Are you curious about what's in it? Want to see what's in it? I'll pull that out. So what is it? It's a little person, right? With a question mark. Like a gingerbread cookie with a question mark. How many of you like to ask questions? See, when I was your age, I used to ask mom and dad all kinds of questions. Like you do? What type of questions do you like to ask? What the solar system's about? I was just asking while the grass was green. I wasn't looking for anything else. What else? What is the red seeds in the world? I'll be so many different questions. Well, in today's Bible, how does the planet run cities? We do good questions. Man, that was one of my questions. I couldn't even add 2 plus 2. Thank you. So, and how the solar system came together, and all of those big questions, these were full of questions. I wouldn't begin my heart in that. So, in today's Bible lesson, we hear about a disciple who also asked questions. His name was Thomas. And sometimes in the church we call him Doubting Thomas. But I don't like to call him Doubting Thomas, because I think he was curious. And he would ask questions. In fact, the Bible tells us that he would even stop and interrupt Jesus when he didn't understand something. He even, when Jesus told him that he was going to go back into Jerusalem, told Jesus he was nuts. They didn't have to go. But when Jesus insisted, that he said, well, let's go with him and die with him. It was very lucrative. He was always curious, and he didn't hesitate to ask questions. And in the story today, his friends had told him that Jesus had come back. But he didn't believe that he had asked him questions. It is okay for us to question around. It's fun to ask questions. We learn these things. So no matter how old you are, and how to spell, we're going to ask how to spell, right? You ask that stuff, so we should never ever stop asking questions, because God wants us to ask questions and to learn. And that's how we learn, right? By asking. We learn all those wonderful things that you want to know. You can spell stuff. So you have promised me this week you will never stop asking questions. You'll be like Thomas and all be curious. Awesome. Well, let's pray real quick before we go to children's church. God, we thank you for these young people. We thank you for allowing us to ask questions. And as we receive the answers, we pray in your name. Amen. Slowly walk to the end of the sanctuary.
Good morning. The scripture this morning comes from John chapter 20, verses 19 to 31. When it was evening on that day, the first day of the week, and the doors of the house where the disciples had met were locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. When the disciples rejoiced when they came to see the Lord. And the Lord said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." When he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." But Thomas, who was called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples said to him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the mark of the nails on his hands, and put my finger on the mark of the nail, and my hand to his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet come to believe." Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, but they are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is in the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may also have life in his name. Reverend Mansell will now deliver this morning's reflection, the gift of God.
Let us pray. May my words and all of our thoughts be acceptable to you, O God, because you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Do you ever like to think in terms of opposites? So, I need you to be awake and respond. What is the opposite of left? Right. The opposite of big is small. The opposite of down is the opposite of stop is go. The opposite of faith is part of the problem is that we often make that mistake and say that doubt is the opposite of faith. And it's not. If you look it up, the opposite of faith is actually not doubt. It's actually certainty. Faith is having the ability to believe something without seeing it. Believing is able to embrace and accept something that cannot really be seen or proven. Certainty, on the other hand, is knowing for sure. This past week, did you know that we did not put a clock on the balcony to make sure I knew how long to preach? We did not do it this week. Do you believe me? How many of you are just thinking, I want to turn around and see if there's a clock? Now, if you accept what I had to say without turning around, that is faith. If you had to look, that is certainty. Now, for those of you who are wondering, there is no clock on the balcony. Now, Thomas has his doubts, and he's been misnamed, I believe, Doubting Thomas, because he questioned something that was totally and utterly impossible. We, 2,000 years later, know how the story ends. We know about the cross. We know about Jesus appearing to the women and later to the apostles. We know about the empty tomb. We know about Christianity and the history of the church. We know all of this. But Thomas did not know this. Crucifixion was one of the most horrible ways to kill a human being ever devised. And death on a cross was not something that was reversible. Thomas was not believing the apostles. And these are the same apostles who called the women's story an idle tale. This is pretty much what you'd expect of the apostles last week and Thomas this week. Thomas questioned. And a faith that is never been questioned by a person is a faith that is always going to come up lacking somewhere. It's always going to come up short in some ways. Sometimes doubt is treated like a disease. People keep their distance from us when we begin to question too much. They worry and pray and whisper among themselves. The brave people try to fix people who have questions. when we've all felt like we personally were diseased, when it's a struggle to sit through church, when we're afraid of too much quiet time to think, when we ask questions that cast fear in other people and in ourselves, when we ask questions that even the brave people don't want to address. And these are aspects of doubt that come up for most people, and they are amazing. First, doubt is centered in humility. And humility is a great spiritual virtue. Perhaps the holiest words we can say about God is, I don't know. Walking humbly with God requires the ability to say that we don't know everything. We don't understand. But we are humble enough to accept faith. But humility is hard to pin down. Once we call ourselves humble, we're no longer humble. If I get up and say, I am a humble servant of the Lord, I would be boasting about my humility, and therefore I would not be very humble. When we say, if I stood here and said, I'm really good at being humble, people would look at me and say, yeah, you're not really good at being humble. And if the person is at an awards banquet, and a person wins the award for being the most humble person there, as soon as they get up to accept the award, they would not be given the award because they no longer have enough humility. Humility has the ability to say, I don't know. I don't know. And whenever we do that, believe it or not, we're actually taking a step forward in faith because we are growing. Centuries and centuries. Secondly, doubt leads to question. And when we question, we may be able to change the world. Centuries and centuries ago, people thought the world was flat. Someone once doubted that to be true. And they discovered the earth was actually round. They discovered it was round because somebody actually doubted it. Now, I don't know if you hang out on social media very much, you'll find that there are still people who think the world is flat. And there is a flat earth society. But without trying to be overly mean, these are not always the brightest bulbs on the Christmas tree. They recently ran an ad on Facebook that said there were flat earthers, flat earth believers all around the world. The philosopher Aristotle once wrote a treatise on physics 400 years before the life of Jesus. He determined that if you dropped two objects from the same height, one being heavier and one being lighter, the heavy one would hit the ground first. He never did an experiment. This seemed logical to him, and so he accepted it and wrote about it. This remained an accepted fact for 2,000 years. Remember, this is 400 years before the time of Jesus. Somewhere between 1589 and 1592, an Italian scientist by the name of Galileo Galilei dropped two spheres of different masses from the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa to demonstrate that the descent was independent of their mass and both would hit the ground at the same time. So he dropped two objects, one heavy, one light, and they both came down and they hit the earth at exactly the same time. It turns out Aristotle was wrong. Now, Galileo doubted Aristotle and proved the world that these experiments were a good thing, that sometimes you have to question things. But here's a side note. His doubt, his questioning almost got him burned at the stake by the church at the time. They didn't like ancient thoughts being questioned. But questioning is good. Thirdly, we often encounter people or can act in our own way when there's a mask of faith where you say, how are you? And they say, everything's wonderful. I once knew a minister who, every time I would say, how are you doing today? He'd say, wonderful! This is the day the Lord Sometimes we pretend everything is okay and everything is all right. But faith, like everything that is part of human development, has developmental qualities and stages. A man by the name of James Fowler did a study of 5 stages of faith in healthy people. He said the faith's first stage of faith development is just chaos, not believing in anything. The second stage is blind, absolute faith. No questioning allowed. The third stage of faith is start asking questions and having doubt. Question everything. And the fourth stage is the stage that begins to integrate questions and doubt and faith. The goal in stage 5 is, I would say, rarely achieved. It's a person who is usually much older and has come to a harmony and peace with God and humanity and the universe. I've met several people in that age group, but they've been very elderly, very wise, very good people. Churches have the responsibility to move people on the journey, especially moving from stage 2 through stage 3 onto stage 4, allowing and encouraging and nurturing people to ask questions, even doubt. It's something I believe our church is really good at, and something that's been part of the history and foundation of the United Church of Christ, asking questions all the time. Thomas's questions and even doubts remind us that this stage is a stage that is part of ongoing conversion. And sadly, much of American Christianity right now seems to be based on getting people to stage 2 and keeping them there. The problem with that is that when they're told questioning is bad, never have questions, never have doubt, something happens. And people come and say, everything will be okay. And people say, it's never going to be okay. We all have experiences, it's never going to be okay. When we lose loved ones, it's never going to be okay. But we still manage to find a way to live on, to grow. And when we stop asking questions, when we have an inability to question things, we get stuck. And getting stuck is not what we're supposed to be doing. Sometimes life is hard like that. Yet, Thomas has the ability to doubt and ask questions, have the courage to say, I question this. His doubt is actually a gift. Sometimes, instead of doubt being an obstacle to faith, it should be treated as an antidote to faith. People, when we doubt, when we question, find solidarity and healing with each other. When we ask questions of each other, and people have the courage and the ability to sit with us through those questions and share their own questions, we begin having the ability to dream of a bolder, more examined faith, a deeper, richer faith. Sometimes I think it's the antidote we're looking for. To apathy, to fear, to irrelevance, to inherited beliefs, to an unchanging and fixed faith. Instead of a faith that is going towards extinction, it is a faith that continues to grow and nurture us and people all around us. Thomas was one of those people who had the ability to say out loud what most of us think. Looked up a little bit about Thomas and whatever became of Thomas. Thomas, it turns out, was one of the most traveled of all the 12 apostles. Probably is the apostle that got the furthest away from Jerusalem. Evidence says to us that Thomas was all the way in India, preaching the gospel, sharing the good news to all people. And that he was martyred, serving God, and preaching the gospel while in India. To this day, people in India trace back their lineage to Christianity, to the Apostle Thomas. Thomas proved to be not doubting Thomas, but Thomas, one of Jesus' most faithful and loyal apostles. Amen. We have a good number of people to pray for this morning. Continue to pray for Carson Wallace, Darlene Devine. I mentioned Rachel Held-Evans, an author that I really liked, that she was in a medically induced coma last week. She still is in a medically induced coma and was moved to the third hospital. They're still trying to figure out what's causing the seizures. So I continue to pray for her. She's only 37 years old and has 2 small children. Kyle Ridout's nephew, Brandon Johnson, had a heart pump installed and seems to be doing decently. He is waiting for a heart transplant. We continue to pray for Sherry Bond Davis, for Bruce Whitson, for Gail Bland, for the people of the synagogue where the shooting just took place. We pray for them. For Kenneth Parsley, for Mike Johnson, and for 2 people Ruth Wetzler gave us, Dave Thomas and Tom Trish. Are there other people you'd like us to remember in prayer? Yes.
John, let's pray for our neighbors, Centenary United Methodist Church.
Yes.
They're going through a change in their mission, not necessarily their mission, but their vocation especially.
Yes.
Been very good neighbors for 100 and so on years.
Yes. Centenary is selling their building, and I believe they're moving into Park Christian Church, and they'll be operating as a separate congregation in a new location.
Let's pray for that congregation.
Some joys. If you look around outside, you'll notice that everything has been all spiffed up. The green team was hard at work. So good job by the green team. Yeah, very good. Who here was here yesterday doing yard work? Did you stand up for a moment? All right. The joy of Easter season, it was really a wonderful experience, and I want to thank the Howard family. They're not here this morning, but they're planning on joining the church next week. But they brought Nellie the lamb, and so I got to tell you, everybody walked away saying, you know, Easter was really good, the music and everything, but boy, the lamb was great. So everything worked out. I think everybody's going to remember that as the Easter of the Lamb showed up. Nick Scroggins and Courtney Knight last night became Nick and Courtney Scroggins. So we congratulate the 2 of them. And it is Courtney. I heard somebody who was the minister, I will not mention his name, introduced them as Nick and Cindy Scroggins. But he did correct himself, so. But it was a really delightful wedding with a really super 2 people last night. They got married at the Calumet Club, just up the street. So are there other joys that we have? Yes?
Yesterday we had 64 people come pick out glasses. We had some people come to the clothes closet and nobody got a fight.
Good. 64 people got glasses, 100 people went to the clothes closet. Soup kitchen seemed to go well. There were no fights, no arguments, no arrests. Yes? Yes. Well, thank you very much. We broadcast live, and thank you to Mike up there who does that every week. Yes? Oh, they made it. Even with that really large dollop. Oh, Lord. Let us pray. We thank you, Lord, for the story of Thomas, showing us that faith is never easy, and faith and doubt never breaks your love for us. We lift up to you our requests We ask you to show me, prove it, give me a sign now, our doubts, that your peace is with us. We offer you our fumbling answers when others tell us that you are not proven, that your peace be always with us. We offer you our pain and reticence when we hold back from rejoicing, but because others cannot, we ask that your peace be upon us. We ask you to meet those in need of peace, in need of blessing, in need of the end of their waiting. May your peace be with them and us. We do believe, oh God. Help us to overcome those times when we do not believe. Let us pray in silence for our own needs. We pray together. Our Father, take this time, of God, to give thanks for all the great blessings as we take up our morning offering. And the movement allows us to look back on the balcony to see if there's a clock.
seeing the needs of the many, which these our gifts may ameliorate. Please receive them and bless them, without doubt as to our sincerity in giving them. Bless them to your service. Amen.
Let us turn and face each other and commission each other. Let us go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to that which is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honor all people. Love and serve the Lord. Rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit. Let us sing together hymn number 2, Joyful, Joyful, He is Worthy. rooted hands.
May that power make us one in you. May that unity cause us to love and find unity.
May your love move us to use our hands as you do, to do works of care and justice for your beloved earth and all its people, works that heal, free, plant, hug, write, show, speak, and grow.
Give us